So later today we get maintenance, and it brings a whole new change to our currencies and an entire new store where you can craft armor, weapons, accessories, and your unlock stones. I showed this earlier, but just to be clear, this completely removes all of those weapon and armor selection packs. But there is something pretty concerning to be aware of. They are massively increasing the amount of time it's required to actually get tier 2 gear versus Korea. Later on, I also want to address some additional concerns you guys have, like guild raids, starting a new character, material transmutation, dimensional contract tokens, your contract scrolls, and your other merchants like Sundries and contract coins. But let's jump back to this. Again, this crafter completely replaces all of those selection chests we've had. We can go to the Sundries crafter and I can show you, no longer is there a single option to craft any of those chests. Every single one is gone, entirely replaced by this new merchant and the new crafting system that comes with it. But this is exactly where the sneaky change comes in. That's going to take us 2 to 3 times longer to actually get this new tier 2 gear. Now let's look at how exactly this is done. Well, we have these new currencies: Adventure Coin Fighting Spirit and Adventure Coin Loyalty. Names are subject to change based on translations, but you can see exactly here the conversion rates for our current currencies and how much they will give of the new currency. And we will ultimately only obtain the new Adventure Coin Fighting Spirit, which means we can only obtain tier 1 gear with that currency, no matter how much you've pre-stacked on, say, soul shards. So we will have to work towards getting the new Adventure Coin, the loyalty one, for actually getting the tier 2 gear. Korea had a slightly different currency conversion, but here is where we see the change. When we actually look at the costs. Now for weapons, it's fine. It's equal cost as how it was old as it is new. The conversion rate here, if you're confused, is basically taking these amount of tokens. So 3-star dungeon soul shards now give 4 of these adventure coins loyalty when converted. That means when we earned 100 of those 3-star dungeon soul shards, we effectively actually earn 400 of the new adventure coins. And yes, that's exactly how much the new tier 2 weapons are going to cost. The ones linked to the 3-star dungeons. The other lesser weapons are only going to cost 200, and these are linked to like the open world and the 2-star dungeons. These ones even only costing 160. They're like your abyss dungeon ones, much easier to obtain. But we then look to armor, and you can see here we actually get a bit of a generous conversion rate. With our 1-star and 2-star dungeons, we'll actually obtain more currency than we had before in terms of the actual cost to obtain gear. Before, we would have to spend 80 soul shards to get like a 1-star dungeon gear item, or 60 2-star dungeon soul shards to get a tier 1 item. Now you will effectively spend just 60 for that, and the easier to obtain gear, just 40. But the issue lies in obtaining the new currency. What they've done here in Korea is change the amount you can actually earn per dungeon. If you look at a 2-star dungeon, we're now earning these adventure coins loyalty instead of soul shards. And whenever we get a completion, we're going to take away only 4 of these adventure coins. If you do random matchmaking, you get the chest, which will give you an additional one, and a 10% chance to just obtain 5 extra. What this means is that for every 2-star dungeon run, you're only earning 5 currency on random queue. You might think that's fine, but since the costs have gone and changed, to obtain a 2-star dungeon tier 2 gear item, you need 160 of these adventure coins. That's no problem with the currency conversion, because every soul shard actually became 2 of the new currencies. But what they've done is made it so you only earn 5 instead of 10. So now you're earning half as much as is needed in order to earn the gear. So it will take twice as long to obtain, say, this helmet now for us on global and also in Korea now as it was before this update. This gets even worse when you look at the 3-star dungeons. These also only earn you 4 of these adventure coins, exactly the same as a 2-star dungeon. And if you want to get the tier 2 gear that actually drops from these, you're looking at spending 320 of them. And again, if you look at weapons, that's 400. Now the exchange rate was fine with our old soul shards, as that got multiplied by 4. So we effectively quadruple the amount of currency we had, but instead of updating the dungeons, we're still only going to earn 5 of this currency instead of what it should be at 20. It's now going to take you 80 runs just to get these weapons versus just 20 how it was before. You can look at the different sources of those fighting spirit and loyalty coins and you can see you're pretty restricted. But now there's actually added overlap. You can essentially get everything that drops in a 3-star dungeon while using currency you obtained in a 2-star dungeon. That's the benefit of this whole system. It just now takes significantly longer as you have to play a lot more content to actually get that currency. Again, they've quadrupled the cost. This now requires 400 and you're only earning 5 at a time versus this cost was only 100. Same with your armor. You now need 320 versus what it was just at 80. And you're still only earning 5 per dungeon run. So if you add up everything, if you want to do your weekly missions, you can get 25 more of that currency here. You can do your arena and get 10 more. You can do your contract scrolls, get 24 more. Because yes, those level 25 contracts will give you 1 of these adventure coins per completion. And you'll get 24 contracts per week. You can of course use the ones you've saved up and get a bunch like in bulk at the beginning, but then it will trickle out. But now we're only earning 164 total loyalty currency per week versus what we could before at 280 effectively. So yes, they've doubled the amount of time required to actually obtain this new gear. If you remove those other sources, they've nearly tripled the amount of time required, as you only earn just over 100 per week versus nearly 300. So it is a little bit concerning, but yes, it's global. Everybody's on a level playing field. Everybody will take longer. And again, as the devs did express, it does free you up a bit in the flexibility of what content you actually need to play. Like, I can just run 2-star dungeons, get this currency, collect it up, and then running 3-star dungeons, I get a bit more. And I can save all that to obtain the exact item I want. It will still be slower though. Like if I want to get this great sword, it costs me 400. Maximum per day just from dungeons is only 15 of the currency, as you're limited 2 dungeon runs per day of your 2-star dungeons and only 1 dungeon run of your 3-star dungeons. So that's still only 15 versus how it was before, where you could effectively earn 20 of this new currency when you look at the exchange from the soul shards to this. On top of the fact they've also changed the random Q box, you can no longer get, say, the salvation token, which would instantly get you the weapon. You only get 5 extra here now. So again, it's still significantly longer, even with the added benefit of being able to run multiple different content, compile all of that currency, and feed it into just the one item you want. It's still effectively slower. But again, we'll have to see. Maybe they add new places where we can get that extra currency. Now, to quickly address some of your guys' concerns, yes, guild bosses will still only be able to be killed 7 times a week. If you did want to start over a character, because a lot of these rewards have been updated, you could, but I would only do it if you don't already have decently leveled gear. If you don't already have tier 1 purple gear at a decent level, and let's say you've only just hit level 50, then I would recommend starting over. Otherwise, not really. And material transmutation, yes, will be dropping like tier 2 gear, so maybe you want to save some items to throw into that. The drop rate's only like 16% here, with 8% on weapons, but we might get a completely different drop rate table for this, as we actually did on global for the other conversion tiers. This does not mirror what we actually see on global. So I'm not sure what state we'll actually get this material transmutation in, and if we'll actually get the updates to it day 1 of Talandre. In terms of older contract scrolls, yes, you will be able to melt them down into these seals using a bit of solent, and then at the Sundries crafter purchase the new tier 2 contract scrolls, these giving the tier 2 currency rather than older ones giving the tier 1 currency. Our guild merchant simply stays the same, and our contract coins merchant may very well get an update with new precious blessing pouches. If you have free coins, you can purchase them. They'll give new contract scrolls, but most of the time still the older ones, and with gear, most of the time still older tier 1 gear. And yes, there is a selection chest for 3,000 coins of a tier 2 weapon, but we don't know if we'll actually get this day 1. The Sundries merchant also just stays the same, other than the resistance forces contract scrolls now comes in a bundle, and you have to choose when you open these which ones you want. Lastin and Stoneguard, that's tier 1 stuff, or Talandre, which is tier 2 stuff, and they will of course be a little bit more difficult, those dungeons. And you can see you will obtain 4 new contract scrolls: Temple of Truth, Crimson Manor 1, Crimson Manor 2, and Birkent Estate. All of which again will give you the new adventure coins, the new blessing pouches with tier 2 gear, and then the regular rewards, including a little bit more contract coins. But the final thing is your dimensional contract tokens. On Korea here, you have 2 different ones. One is for 1-star and 2-star dungeons, and the other is for 3-star dungeons. We may very well get changed to that exact system. Alternatively, they add another dimensional contract token, dimensional contract token 3, for our 3-star dungeons, and it's currently set so you can do 3 1-star dungeons, 2 2-star dungeons, and 1 3-star dungeon. Again, still open to change. This is just how it is on Korea right now, with only 2 of these currencies. So usually you're just doing 2-star dungeons and 3-star dungeons. And as for your abyssal contract tokens for the open world dungeons, those will remain the same, and you'll use the same tokens for the new Talandre open world dungeons to farm your mobs and get loot. But that should be everything for this video. Thanks all for watching, and we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.